Has anyone else seen the recent trailer for that Lisa Frankenstein movie and also tried to determine if you can let go of your fear of zombies enough to potentially watch a really interesting dark comedy? Or is it, is it just me? Hey folks, my name is Jen. Aside from the totally not bookish related thing, let's talk about actually what I read in December. I actually finished off the year by reading 10 books in 1 month. I think the majority of them were audiobooks, which is fun. So the first thing that I read was a audiobook of The Christmas Card Crime and Other Stories. It's edited by Martin Edwards and it has a lot of different short stories in it. The collection basically has a lot of Golden Age detective fiction writers in it, and also like not so much detection. Baroness Orczy, who is most famously known for The Scarlet Pimpernel, which is another book that I'm reading right now, she had a short story in here, which I really enjoyed. A lot of different authors. I don't have them all written down, which is unfortunate, but I will say my only disappointment with this collection, and it might be a marketing thing or it might be my own assumption. I think it's a two-part thing, a part marketing and part my assumption. The cover for this, I'll show you. The Christmas Card Crime. Now it looks like a British like manor, or maybe like somewhere up in the Alps or something like that. It might be a little bit misleading that this sounds like, hey, this is going to take place over the holidays, or it's going to be, the stories are all going to be snowy. No, that's not the case. There is like the main thing, the Christmas Card Crime, doesn't really take place at Christmas, if I remember correctly. I read this earlier in December, but it does involve the winter. And I think there's like another story in there that takes place during the winter, but for the most part, like everything else is not evident that it's taking place in the winter. It's definitely not, nothing seems to really be taking place during the holidays, or the holidays aren't like a major, even if they were, it's like a passing thing that I don't quite remember, so it was like a, not really a prevalent part of the stories overall. So that was like, I think my one disappointment for that collection, which was, again, marketing wise, it looks like it might be a holiday related collection of mystery stories, but in reality it's not. Otherwise though, I really enjoyed it. I do, first of all, want to track down my own copy at some point because I really enjoyed those stories and I'd like to revisit them again. And also I need to look up all of the authors that wrote in there because I enjoyed each story. Each one brought something a little bit different to the table. I have been recently trying to branch out reading in my mysteries. I've read like a lot of different mysteries, but I haven't really read that much older mysteries beyond Agatha Christie. I have tried Dorothy Sayers before. I read Raymond Chandler. I read The Big Sleep back in college because it was one of the books assigned for one of my classes. And I also read The Thin Man by Dashiell Hammett because I love the Thin Man movies. I adore the Thin Man movies. But other than, like I said, those four key Golden Age detective fiction writers, I haven't really branched out that much. So I really like this collection too because it introduced me to a lot of different mystery writers and more that I can check out. I also really liked that the collection itself had like a little introductory bit by the editor giving you a little bit of information about the author and why this story was in here and and whatnot like that. So I also really enjoyed that. I think my favorite story out of the bunch, though, would have to be the last one. And of course I can't remember the title or the author. And of course I don't have that information down here from Goodreads. But it involved a heist. And I love me a good heist story. That is a guilty pleasure of mine, is a good heist tale, and this was brilliant. I loved every second of it. I could see the way things were going, and I was so amused by everything. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Sorry I don't have a lot of information written down for it, but I will say it was very enjoyable. The version I listened to an audiobook of it, and this cover is from the British Library Crime Classics, which I believe is also a series that's been referenced a lot from a podcast that I listen to, which is what got me turned on to trying to seek out more vintage classic mystery writers and try to like go beyond just England and the US as far as those go, and it's the She Done It podcast, and because the host Caroline is British, a lot of the books she's referenced before when I've looked them up, they have been from this like series of they're like republishing older classics, which is a lot of fun, and I want to track this down, although I don't think this is offered here. I might have to find it online somewhere. But yeah, anyway, good collection. Really enjoyed it. Want to seek out a physical copy at some point, and I gave it 5 stars. It was a big mystery month for me. So I listened to 2 Agatha Christie audiobooks, and I also reread a physical book. So the first of the audiobooks that I listened to was The Labors of Hercules, and I loved it. I enjoy mythology. I know Greek mythological retellings are like the thing right now, and it is expanding into other like cultural mythological retellings too. And as much as I do like enjoy some of them, I'm wary of a lot of different things just because they're a little bit overhyped and whatnot. But this, let me tell you, this was a mythological retelling that I found ridiculous, but I really liked it at the same time, because it's involving mysteries, and Poirot, both of which I love. Basically, Poirot is having his swan song. Poirot has gotten to a point that he is getting older, and he is dreaming about retiring and moving off to the country and growing his vegetable marrows, which I had to look that up. I had no fucking clue what he was talking about. Just like a random vegetable, and it's just mostly water, and it doesn't taste like anything. But he wanted to cultivate them and make them taste like something different, or do something interesting with it. So that's Poirot. But before he did that, he decided he was going, through a conversation that he was going to do his swan song, in which he only selected cases that he desperately wanted to take, and that would, in order, reflect his namesake Hercules doing his 12 labors that he was assigned. And it was really interesting to see how Poirot tied each of these back to, oh, well, that fits with that labor, that one fits with that one. So I really liked, first of all, the like ties to the myths, but also enjoyed the mysteries themselves, because it's basically not just one long mystery we're covering, but like a collection of short mysteries, but kind of interwoven together. I loved all of them. I thought they were very clever. I thought they were fun. I was really happy because one of them I guessed right on. And not only did I guess correct for who it was, but I guess correct as to the motive too. And I have never been able to do that before. Like I have in the past guessed correctly a couple of times. Oh, it's got to be that person, but I've never been able to figure out the how, the why, any of that. But this time I guessed it like all basically correctly, and I was so proud of myself. I was so happy. It was a lot of fun. I tend to like his mysteries the most, although I do really love Miss Marple and as well. But yeah, I've loved Poirot. He's ridiculous. So I had a lot of good fun with that too. And I liked that there was a couple of recurrent characters that came up again later. One of them, and I think it was either the last one or was close to the last case in there. It was actually giving me anxiety, and I was angry. I had a character I just wanted to punch in the face. So yeah, it really had me going there for a while, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I really loved it. I gave that 5 stars. The other audiobook I listened to was actually one that I'd read a physical copy of years ago. It's actually, my mom has it. I really liked that too. It is Dumb Witness. And this is also a Poirot mystery. Poirot gets a call to come help an old lady. She's had a weird thing happen. And he gets this letter that's been postmarked. Like the letter itself was dated earlier on, but he only just got it. And he's confused about that, and also a little bit curious, and also kind of concerned, because this woman is like talking about thinking something fishy is going on, basically, with her family, and she's had like an accident. And Poirot heads down there and finds out, like, the other title to this is Poirot Loses a Client, because he finds out when he goes down there the old woman has died like a month previously. And he decides that he is still going to work on behalf of his client and find out what happened, because he is not satisfied with her being marked as having died basically of natural causes or potential complications due to an accident that happened. And the accident is being blamed on her dog, who had a habit of tossing this rubber ball down the stairs. Basically, the accident was blamed on, oh, the ball was in the wrong spot. And Poirot believes, no, it wasn't the dog's ball. It was foul play. Like somebody deliberately tried to do something to make this woman fall down the stairs. And if there was one attempt on her life, there obviously was another. I loved this. The twists and turns that this book took. I really enjoyed it. I mean, Poirot is always a hit. This one has Hastings in it. And Hastings... well, Hastings is definitely way more useful than Watson. Like, he's basically the Watson stand-in. He's definitely more useful than Watson, but at the same time, I just kind of roll my eyes at him sometimes, because he's just... he can't see the forest through the trees. You know what I mean? You can't really dislike him either, because he's just... his commentary. I don't even know. It is also so amusing sometimes when he's just like, Poirot's losing it. And it's like, you know this man is so intelligent. No, just trust him. He's not losing it. I really enjoyed it. The mystery itself, the family dynamics, really interesting. The twists and turns, like I said. And I really liked that I got faked out. I fell for the red herring. I did not even get close to guessing who was the actual person. And this is after having read this book, but I mean, when I read it, it was like probably, I don't know, 20 years ago that I read this. So, you know, it's been a while. I will say, I don't think I enjoyed as the other stuff that I read this month as far as like mysteries are concerned, but I did still enjoy it. I give it 4 stars. And then the last Christie that I read this month was, I did a reread of Midwinter Murder, which is a Fireside Tales from the Queen of Mystery. And this is again misleading, because I will have to say that not all of them are like winter or Christmas related. I mean, even if they weren't all Christmas related, I'm okay with that, but not even all of them were winter related. Enjoy this book as well. Three Blind Mice I think is still my absolute favorite from the collection, but I also really love the couple of Satterthwaite and Harley Quinn books in here. I love the reappearance of the character Bunch and Miss Marple. Bunch is Miss Marple's goddaughter, and she's actually a character that's featured in A Murder is Announced. And we also see Poirot at the end in the Christmas Adventure, which I love that one too. That's my next favorite besides Three Blind Mice. I will say my least favorite of these, I think, has always been The Manhood of Edwin Robinson, and that continued into this. I disliked it even more this go around, just because I find him to be ridiculous and his fiancée to be annoying. So, yeah. But overall, not a bad collection to revisit. And let me see. I originally rated it 5 stars, and I felt about the same for it. I didn't change anything. The next thing I read was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Let's see. Mostly I have been someone that's like, says, hey, you know, let's revisit books that we loved when we were younger and see how we feel about them now. I think that's overall a pretty good thing. Sometimes not so much. So basically, this book, if you don't know, is part of a fantasy series by C.S. Lewis, a lot of them involving I think their last name is Pevensey, if I remember correctly. 4 children. Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. They have been sent away from London to the country because World War II is going on, and it's part of that program which basically sent children out of the city for their own protection to live with various families. We're kind of allotted to take in city children. So, because I think London was pretty much getting bombed at that point. So the children are out here in this big old house with this old man named the Professor. And this place is really big, and they are kind of bored. And one day they're playing hide and seek. And Lucy hides in this big wardrobe in this one room and finds at the back of the wardrobe is the entrance to another world, a snow-filled world full of fantastical creatures, one of whom is this little, like, oh my gosh, I keep wanting to call him a centaur, and that is definitely not what he is. A satyr. Oh my goodness. A satyr. And she kind of befriends this satyr and learns more about this world. The world has been cursed to be covered in snow, but never have Christmas arrive because this white witch has taken over the land, basically. And she's terrible. Her siblings don't believe her when she arrives back. And eventually, it's not a bad book. You know, it's a classic for a reason, and I did enjoy parts of this book, but I will say there were a couple of things that I was just kind of like iffy on. Back when I was a kid, I guess I hadn't really noticed how heavy-handed like the Christian symbology and messaging was overall in the books. Like, it just kind of went right over my head. But being an adult and having slightly more knowledge of varying religions, religious symbology, and just reading things because of academic classes previously in college. Just, although honestly anyone reading this could be like, well, no shit, Sherlock. But I just wasn't paying attention when I was a kid. So I think it's overall pretty heavy-handed, which frankly not my cup of tea. And honestly, it was all I could see as an adult. I had a really hard time getting into I remember enjoying this world a lot when I was a kid, except for the last book. I hated the last book as a kid, but I enjoyed being in the world for the rest of the books. And I just could not seem to turn that part of my brain off, and allow myself to be immersed in the world, because I was just like, oh, well, that's an allegory for this, oh, that's this thing, oh, that's a, and it kind of dampened my overall enjoyment of the story, to be completely honest. Also, there was one part that really annoyed me, and it's, actually, I mean, this is an old book, so I guess it wouldn't really be spoilers, because I'm sure everyone who's gonna read it has probably read it at this point, but, there's this one point that, alright, I'll try to be vague with it. There's this one point that's basically like saying that, women shouldn't fight. Women should be in the nurturing roles, or in different roles. They shouldn't be like actually being involved in like fighting or something like that. And I was just kind of like, okay, C.S. Lewis, kiss my ass. So I wouldn't be put into a fantasy world and then just sit there on the sidelines going, oh, well, it's me, the poor man. No, fuck you. No, I'm gonna be out there shooting shit with a bow and arrows. Go fuck yourself. As I think I wrote it down. Yeah, I wrote it down here. Basically, as one of those cats from the Aristocrats said, ladies don't start fights, but they can certainly finish them. Basically, another part that I enjoyed was the fact that they got to ride a giant lion at one point. Like, not anything dirty, you sickos. I mean, like, actually ride on its back, like it was a giant horse. And honestly, between that and The Wizard of Oz and like a couple other things I remember reading growing up, that still sounds fantastic. I would love that. Especially if you trade like a giant lion for a giant bear. I think I'd be even more on board. I would love that. It would be amazing. Some books, I'm still in favor of revisiting your childhood favorites at different points in your life and seeing how you feel about them now. Like, I'm currently doing that, and I'm probably going to be doing more of that in the future. But I guess I'm still a big supporter of that. I still think it's a good idea. I think you can get a lot more out of things, but I do think just be prepared, because sometimes you're gonna end up disappointed, and that's kind of what ended up with this one. Still give it credit for what it did for fantasy, and for, I at least like Lucy. She's pretty spunky. But yeah, this was like a 3-star read for me now. The next thing I read, what else? Oh, Halligan Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Not much to say about that, other than I got myself a physical copy finally, after many years of not having had one, and enjoyed reading it, and it was just a nice little thing to have. Although, of course, for the majority of the thing, I could just hear the recording in my head while I was reading it, because I've definitely probably seen the movies and listened to the soundtrack way more than I have read that book. So it was between, oh, what's his face? Who did the old recording? He's got like a really gnarly name, and I cannot remember what his name is. It was really cool. So it's either between him or hearing Jim Carrey in my head, which was kind of funny. But yeah, I liked it. I mean, for the most part, children's picture books for me are gonna be a 5, because it's just like nostalgia, and I love the Grinch, and I get it, because sometimes over the past few years I've been feeling Grinchy at Christmas, so I get it. Yeah. Oh, Christmas at Thompson Hall by Anthony Trollope. So I counted it as a book. I guess maybe it would be maybe a novella, or it might be smaller than that. I just found an audiobook version of it. So I think maybe it counts as a novella, or maybe it's just like a little bit of a longer short story or something. But it was just this simple little short story about this couple who are trying to head home for Christmas. They are heading home because the wife's family's home that they always go to for Christmas, and her husband is like, he does not want to go. He is worried about the journey. He has like potentially strep throat. He's definitely got a sore throat. He is not doing good, and he just does not want to go there. He wants to go somewhere else, or he just wants to remain where they are. He does not want to do the travel. He keeps saying, this is gonna kill me. And this is like based in some point in the 1800s, so I mean, hey, potential. And the wife is just, we gotta go. She is gung-ho to get back for Christmas. Not only for like the festivities, but her sister is bringing her new man around. Like there's this whole big thing she's got to get back, and it's just like them not really communicating each other about their reasons for not going, whatever, misunderstandings, shenanigans. It is absolutely ridiculous. I will say about like 50 to 60% of the way through, I was like, oh, I know exactly what's gonna happen. It's gonna be redonkulous. And yeah, but I loved every minute of it, and I thought it was great. I thought it was funny. I'd like to look up more of Anthony Trollope's writing in the future. I gave that 5 stars because it was delightful. And if you're looking for an old school Christmassy or Christmas related classic short thing to read or listen to at some point, I would recommend that. It's A Christmas Carol and Other Stories by Charles Dickens. So this collection contains A Christmas Carol and also several different stories. So I'm not going to really spend a lot of time talking about Christmas Carol because I have a video coming out that's going to be partially featuring that. Hopefully coming out this month, but honestly it might be February at this point. But yeah, I won't spend too much time talking about that other than to say it's a 5-star forever and ever. It is one of my favorite stories of all time. I love it for its humor, a little bit of it which is dark, the absolutely beautiful descriptions, some of which are my most favorite descriptions ever in the world. The messaging behind it, the story of like being able to change your fate, change yourself, redeem yourself, you know, just caring about others. Who says to Jacob Marley, but you were a good man of business, Jacob. And Jacob says, business? Mankind was my business. Yeah, like at the end of the day, it's not about like the moolah and the stuff like that. I should have been more concerned about the people around me. Yeah, I don't know. I love that forever. The other stories in the collection, though, there's Christmas Festivities, which kind of talks about maybe focusing on a specific family, but kind of talking about different festivities at Christmas time, which I found delightful. Nice little pocket of the time capsule of what Christmas looked like back in the day, which I'm wondering if that's the period of time when it was outlawed in America. I know we went through a period it was outlawed here because people just thought it was an excuse to get drunk, and everyone's such a prude back in the day. That was that. And then there was a story of the goblins who stole a sexton, which was, I think that was maybe my least favorite out of the bunch, but it was still an interesting little tale. The goblins were really creepy. There's a picture of them in here. Christmas episode from Master Humphrey's Clock. I think Master Humphrey's Clock is a longer story. I would like to read more of that because I found that story to be really kind of interesting, involving like Christmas and friendship and whatnot. Christmas Carol, of course. The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. So that one, I kind of got what was going on with that story, and part of the plot almost kind of reminded me a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life, but it was just like a little bit, not exactly the same, it's definitely not like that, but a similar kind of general idea to it. Not explaining this well enough. I don't want to give like too much shit away, basically. Tale's kind of like a guy who's gone through a lot in his life and is kind of offered the chance to forget about all of his past history, his past sorrows and things like that, even though it would ultimately alter his entire personality. Because even if something's terrible and you have a lot of sorrow and you have a lot of like things, you're overtaken by like, I don't know, regret, grief, that various amount of things, it's still like all part of your makeup. It's made you, developed you into the person that you are, and to remove that and to completely forget about it would just kind of alter you, is basically the whole thing of it. And I, like I said, it's not exactly like It's a Wonderful Life, but it had like that kind of idea of showing you, okay, well, like It's a Wonderful Life, where it's like, well, what would it be like if you'd never been born? How would that affect your life? You're not there. How would it affect the people that you love, the people around you? Even people you don't know, how would it affect them? And this was kind of similar, and also looking at, yeah, but if you completely change and everything around you completely change, well, how does that affect the people that you care about or the people around you? Is that also doing something darker to them as well? Kind of a similar, unless I've entirely misinterpreted this story at all. I had a hard time with that one. Like physically reading, I was having a really hard time with it and getting through it. And then actually Dave over at Book Blather, he was been reading some stories. I don't think he has like the same collection as me, but I think it had looks like it had similar stories in it, because a lot of the ones that he read are like ones that were in here as well. And that was one of the stories that he read, was The Haunted Man and the Ghost Bargain. And that actually helped me so much, because it helped me be more productive, and it also helped me because I was actually able to get through it having somebody else read it to me instead of me trying to like reading the same paragraph over and over again. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like that one that much. Although I did like how everything kind of turned around, and I liked one of the phrases from there that, I don't know, that'll stay with me for a little while. There are a couple lines that'll probably stay with me for a while, but yeah, not one of my particular favorites of Dickens. That and the you know, Goblins Who Stole a Sexton. Not too much into that. Christmas Tree, also kind of depressing, and was not really expecting how kind of depressing that one was, but still really, really interesting. He had a lot going on in that story. What Christmas Is We Grow Older, I was just kind of assuming that that one was going to be a little depressing, because I feel like as you get older, I feel like Christmas does get a little more depressing, kind of, maybe, because, I don't know, unless you're a very special type of person, I think, you know, because you think about Christmases of the past when things were different and maybe they were a little more happier, there were more of your loved ones around, there was like things just seemed more magical, and now it doesn't, maybe not quite as magical, it feels like. I don't know, but actually really, I mean, I liked it, but I was like, oh man, this is making me feel some things. The last story in the collection is The Seven Poor Travelers, and I feel like there's some historical context that I am missing to really appreciate that story. I feel like there's something that would have been common knowledge, or potentially some kind of biblical reference that I'm not getting, but it's like, I feel like I'm missing something in particular to really get at the juicy bits of that tale. But at the same time, I did really like it. I liked the idea of, in the Christmas spirit, someone saying, hey, these people, maybe there's not anything special being done for them during the Christmas holidays, but let's do it anyway. I'm gonna just for the hell of it, we're gonna have a big Christmas feast. I'm gonna give them the best evening ever. It's just gonna be great, just because. And I kind of liked that idea. No, overall, pretty decent collection. I like that I got the collection, so it's my excuse as to why I can have 3 copies of A Christmas Carol in my possession. No, good time overall, and I mean, A Christmas Carol, I absolutely love it. So this whole thing was 5 stars. And then let me see, I think I've gone over everything except for the last audiobook I listened to, which was Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon. I think my reading plans video is going to be going up before this wrap up, so it's no real spoiler or anything, but I have been, since partway through last year, working on an idea of trying out or revisiting books that I just gave up on, or things that I have said previously, I'm never reading that, God. But yeah, so months ago, last year, I read Ice Planet Barbarians. And part of that was because of how, part of it was the deciding factor for picking it up, was how much, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I forget her name every time. But she is from Books Like Whoa, her channel. She talked up the Ice Planet Barbarians series so much that I was like, fuck it. I guess I just have to. And I've seen it like bouncing around so much, and everybody talking about it. I was like, you know what, fine. I'll try it. You know, I just need to take off my brain that's like, this is stupid, and just be like, no, enjoy it, for God's sakes. It's not supposed to be serious about freaking giant blue aliens that are essentially walking dildos. Enjoy yourself. And I hated how much I liked that book. I was really funny. I will say the first one was a bit rough, just because it's the first book, so it's the introductory to the situation that lands all of the human women on the planet. Basically, there's human women, they're all, I think, 22 years old, and they don't have strong connections with others. They're not partners with any, they're not involved romantically with anyone. They're not, they don't have particularly close family ties, or their families are like farther away, whatever. It seems to be the common theme with all of them. They're all pretty healthy, whatever. So they are kidnapped by these aliens because they are going to be sold for any myriad of reasons. Slaves, sex slaves, good eating, I don't know, whatever, is basically the premise of that. And then they end up crash landing on this planet that I can't remember the name of, but it's an ice planet. And the first book follows their introduction to this planet and their introduction to the people who inhabit the planet, which, besides a bunch of weird creatures, there's also these giant blue alien dudes, think Avatar, but add horns, and also just different featuring things happening. There's some genitalia stuff I'm not going to get into because I'm maturity level is like a 12-year-old. So I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, yeah, so that was the first book, and I was mad that I really liked it, but I really liked it. Other than, of course, some bits which were a little bit hard to get through, involving a couple of women being raped, essentially, which that was really rough. That was honestly, I almost stopped reading it, but then I was like, no, you gotta push through, because there's some reason why people are obsessed with this series. You gotta do it. And I did, and yeah, I ended up liking it. So Barbarian Alien is book 2. It's featuring the character of Liz, and Liz basically, I don't really know how much to spoil about this. There's basically this, whatever. There's basically this, everyone, the other aliens on the planet, the Sequi, have this thing, and the humans call it a cootie. It's this little wormy guy that's inside of them, and it basically resonates with their person. I suppose it's soulmate, but in reality it's more about biology. It's like, well, who's best suited and who's gonna make the best babies kind of deal. Part of surviving on this planet means the human women are gonna also have to accept one of these cooties. Because they're going to just, they're not going to be able to survive the harshness of the weather there, and also there's like a sickness that they are taking on because of there's like a poison in the air essentially. That's slowly going to kill them. So yeah, they gotta get this little cutie guy, and the cutie guy is gonna make them be mated with one of the Sequi, which is a whole complicated thing, and still is why I'm still kind of mad that I really liked this, because this is not me. I don't like, He-Man, cavemen, possessive bullshit things. I do not enjoy that. That's not, I mean, at one time I was like, oh, isn't that sweet? But, now I'm like, I freaking cut that guy's junk off. What an asshole. No, man, I still really liked this. I actually think I liked book 2 a little bit more than book 1, because it was minus the rapey bits, and it, despite the fact that one of the guys the guy has like this, there's like a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome thing going on. I did really like the flaws of both of the characters. I liked them being there for each other, and I liked how feisty Liz, who is the main girl, I really liked how feisty she is. I will have to say though, man, I don't know how I mean, I definitely don't want to own physical copies of these books, and I'm a little squeamish about the thought of accepting a physical, like borrowing a physical copy of this from a library or something, because I don't think I could look another human being in the eyeballs taking this out, because I am awkward. But dang, I don't know if I really want to. I do want to continue on with this series, I think, because it's something that's just fun. It's just fun, and it's ridiculous. It gives me a laugh, and there's also steamy bits. But I can tell you that I don't know how much more I can handle of the male guy saying and I didn't realize that I was squeamish about either of these words, but the amount of times that he says cock and cunt in his chapters, I just can't. I didn't realize how much I hate the word cock in a romance novel or erotica until this series. And I used to hate the C word like a lot. Over the past couple of years, I've reached it as like, I love it as a swear word. It, like, you can say fuck, and people, like, some people, especially if you're like my mother or something, will be like, Jennifer, like that, but dropping the C word, like, that's a room clearer. Like, that is a room, you will get a silent room after you say cunt. Like, just try it sometime. Like, people will go, like that. I mean, I guess unless you're in, like, England or something. I think they love that over there, but like here it's like, oh my god. Yeah, I still like it as a swear word. It is my angry word. But dang, do I not like it in a romance novel. I think that is one of the more grosser words that can be used for the female genitalia in a romance novel. I cannot. And the way he talks, the descriptive words he uses with it too are just horrendous. I'm gonna consume the rest of that series at some point, but yeah, no, I still really enjoyed it. I'll look up book. I imagine I will be checking out more of it at some time this year. I don't know when. But yeah, I suppose I could always try an ebook. I don't know, you guys. Oh man. Um, yeah, entertaining. I gave that like 4 stars. So yeah, guys, that was everything that I read in December. Overall, a pretty good reading month. Fairly enjoyable. A lot of audiobooks, which is fun. And yeah, a good time. Anyway, if you guys have read any of these, let me know what you thought. If you have any recommendations based on the stuff that I read, let me know. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for always watching. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, and you don't mind my potty mouth, I suppose, which is extra heavy in this episode, yeah, think about subscribing. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, week, weekend, wherever you're at, and I will see you in the next video.